Good morning, everyone. It is 4:30 in the morning of May 25 here in Iceland, and you're seeing the natural daylight, the ambient daylight, because we're in the summer, so it's just light all the time. Have to sleep with eye covers. Sorry about my voice today. It's just too deep because I've been sick recently, but I wanted to make this video, and I wanted to do it while I still have some quiet time. Today is with the whole family here. So I only have quiet time in the early morning. Wanted to come on here and tell you what's up with me after this very, very high watch of supposedly Pentecost passed, right? You know, I'll come on here and I'll tell you if I'm incredibly shocked and disappointed that a watch passes. That's what I do. I tell you about that. But I also want to tell you if it turns out that I'm not shocked and disappointed. And that is the case this time. Even though I watched intensively this date and thought Jesus may come on this day, it actually was not surprising that he did not. And that is because of my personal experience watching this year and what I've seen. And I want to kind of explain that in this video. Some days ago, I made a post where I shared a Bible study that shows that the Feast of First Fruits, or First Fruits, does not happen on Nisan 16 or 17 every year. It happens on the first Sunday in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And then 7 Sundays later is Shavuot. This is always the case. The Bible shows that you have this floating first fruits and floating Shavuot within the dates, but not in the week. So it's always Sunday to Sunday. And there's 7 weeks or 49 days between first fruits and Shavuot. Well, we watched every possibility for first fruits this year. We watched April 3 through 5, right? That was very high watch. That was a watch that I shared with Joshua. But as I told you back then, it was the beginning of a watch season, right? And we were going to watch all the way until we got to the first fruits as reckoned on a calendar or a month beginning with the full moon. And that's what I considered highest watch. But in the middle of all that was April 12, if you recall. April 12 was the exact center of this watch season, the April watch season. And it was huge to me personally, if you'll recall. April 12th, there's almost no date in the year that's bigger to me personally in terms of rapture signage than April 11 and 12. So I was watching that. Didn't necessarily think that was going to be the rapture, but as it happened, April 12 was Easter Orthodox Resurrection Day. Easter Orthodox Easter. You'll also recall that I flew home from Germany, my little vacation there, on Easter Sunday, and then I flew home from Norway on Orthodox Easter Sunday. I just considered that a huge sign. Those 2 days being the day I flew home, wow, that was incredible. So seems to highlight those 2 Easter Sundays, if you will. And why? Well, now we've passed all of the first fruits watches, right? But we have Shavuot, and God pointed me through the 6936 vision to Shavuot, unquestionably. And you can see my recent videos about that. I'm still thinking about that. I didn't get over that. So, of course, Shavuot is 7 weeks after first fruits. Which first fruits? Well, we've now passed 7 weeks after the April 5 first fruits, but this coming Sunday will be 7 weeks after the April 12 Easter Sunday, right? The April 12 first fruits. So that's what we're going to watch next, May 31. And there's some other incredible reasons. You just got to look up 8 years, 8 months, 8 days before May 31, and you find the Revelation 12 sign in 2017, September 23, 2017. That's incredible. Also, May 31 is the blue moon, the second moon of the Gregorian month. So that would explain all of the 2 moon dreams if we get raptured on May 31. And furthermore, I'd like to point out that I didn't really get over how strongly it appears that May 14 was the 14th that God was telling Joshua about on October 13 of 2025 when he said, the 14, 15 days will pass, and on the 16 and 17 days will be the rapture, right? So what if we were right that May 14 and 15 were the 14, 15 right there? And what if you go forward another 16, 17 days after that? Well, then you come to May 31 and June 1st, those 2 days. And of course, at any given moment, the overall world is in 2 calendar dates. So we have to decide whether or not we're going to watch May 30 and 31 or May 31 and June 1, right? So it looks like we should watch May 31 and June 1 for the rapture. Based on the October 13, 2025 vision Joshua had about the 14th, 15th passing and 16, 17 days later being the rapture. Perhaps that's what that means. So I think all of that is incredible evidence for why May 31 is a high watch date. However, should that pass, we have another option for Shavuot, the next Sunday, right? This would be 7 weeks after April 19. And if you'll recall how high of a watch April 19 was, we were watching the 17th, the 18th intensively, but then we realized actually probably Sunday is the day of the rapture. So that was my highest watch. That's what it all came down to for me, April 19. And I was very disappointed when that passed. However, maybe it was exactly the way God planned it all, such that we would be especially watchful of June 7. June 7 is very interesting to me personally because I was engaged to my wife on June 7. And it's also interesting because the first God's Voice Daily video interview with Joshua Malekla dropped on June 7, 2025. So exactly a year before this Shavuot possibility. It's going to be just days before the beginning of the World Cup. That's incredible. So that to me is almost like its highest watch already, June 7. However, it is totally possible that God could come and rapture us on May 31st. And I think that's a very strong possibility, especially with all the incredible stuff God has done throughout my life to point me to April 12. And I know that this year is the April 12 it all pointed to. Incredible signage for me personally was going on that April 12. God arranged an entire international trip to make a point to me about that April 12 or on that April 12. Wow. I'm really excited about this coming Sunday, more so than I was excited about yesterday. And so, this is what God does. He uses a day to point us forward to another day. Sometimes he uses whole systems of days and signs to point us forward to other days and other signs. But, we just have to be watchful on the days he points us to. Because if we're not doing that, we're not being obedient. We're not walking with God, right? Which is what you need to do if you're going to get raptured, according to Genesis 5:22 through 24. Enoch, the story of Enoch. And so I just want to be highly anticipatory of the days God tells me to be anticipatory of. And it just doesn't matter how many watches we pass. What matters is that we stay actually looking for, and get hopeful for the days God points us to. Because if we have something better to think about, something better to do, God will let us do that better thing, but we won't be doing his thing. We won't be thinking his thoughts, and we won't be following what he's revealing to us. So, that is why I don't regret a single watch day this year that we had, because God pointed us to all of those, and they're all a part of the signage. It's a accumulating signage for the actual day that we don't even fully understand yet. We don't fully understand the signage being built, right? But it is accumulating to point us forward to the actual day of the rapture. I am so sure of that. And so I just go along this journey. I've been doing it for 4 years. I just don't regret any of this. And that's why I'm sharing this experience and trying to teach this experience, because it is so positive in my life. You spend the vast majority of your time believing that whatever watch day you're looking forward to is the day. And that's incredibly exciting and positive. You know that you need to believe this because God is giving you evidence of this, and someday it'll be the one, right? And so we get super excited. We genuinely get super excited about the day we're watching. And if it passes, we're disappointed for a few hours, But then we spend days and days and sometimes weeks and months feeling really great about the upcoming watch. So this is a super positive way to live. And we just need to not let any disappointments get us down due to the fact that God pointed us forward to the day. We did what he wanted us to do. We believed in that day and we thought it was possible right there. And we asked God on that day, "Are you coming today?" And then he said, "Well, I'm coming to tell you the next step." This has happened again and again, but someday he's going to actually come in the clouds of glory and we're going to escape this mess here on earth. God bless.